How you doing? All right, Sunday night chat. It's warm in LA today. It was real hot yesterday. I was going to go to the beach, but then I realized everybody else is going to have the same idea. So instead, I stayed home and I made this watch cuff here. We're going to talk about this, I guess. Why not? I didn't watch a lot of, stuff with the news necessarily this week. I mean, I'm into some things that I'm into, which we're probably going to touch on today. I did catch a little bit. I mean, it's just... I can't take it, I'm happy where we're at. Things are going to be a little up and down. We've been through this already. I don't want to rehash all the things I've already discussed, but we just got to let things kind of work itself out and see how things work out as far as the economy and everything else goes. But I'm positive minded about it. It's just the mainstream media, the left-wing stuff, they're back to what they were doing before. If you had hope that they were going to realize the error of their ways, there's some of that's still happening. A lot of these guys have come out and they're talking about it. They're still trying to understand, pretend to understand what the... See, the thing is they know what the truth is. They know what they did, but they're trying to save themselves. They're treading water right now with their ratings, with their viewers, because their viewers are jumping ship because, more and more people are waking up to the fact that they've just been lied to. And so people are starting to look into things and they're starting to realize, oh, wait a second, there's all these relationships, personal relationships, and we've been saying it forever. I've been saying it, everything is scripted on the left, right? It's the same message over and over again, all these different stations, because it's what's been scripted from, from the people in power, right? Government, mostly the left. At any rate, it's a bummer. And there's still, the protests at the colleges are still happening. How does that even happen? It's really crazy. This thing, I caught it at Columbia in New York City. I don't know if you caught this protest, right? They went into a library and I think something like 80 people were arrested. It turned out like 61 of the 80 were women. And only something like, I think I wrote it down here, 80 people were arrested, 61 of them were female, only 50 of them were students. And you're just watching this happen and you're just thinking, what is with these people? It's aggravating. My point on that is this. We have the First Amendment. You have the First Amendment right to protest anything that you want. However, it does not give you the right. This is the problem. It does not give you the right to impede, right, everybody else's day, like the progress of your day, right? Stopping traffic, keeping you from, getting in and out of businesses that you're, like these kids that were trying to study. That's ridiculous. When people block highways and people can't get to work and everything else, that's not the First Amendment. That's not the First Amendment. All right. So there needs to be, I guess, I don't know. I'm not following what the law is with this whole thing. I mean, cops are told to stand down all the time. It's very aggravating. But as a free citizen, if you've got another free citizen who's expressing their First Amendment right, however, at the same time, they're impeding your ability to go about your daily business, you should have the right to physically, not hurt them. You don't have to beat them up or draw blood or anything, but you should be able to physically pick them up and move them. All right? That should be allowed. That should be allowed because screw these people. It's really aggravating. At any rate, I don't want to really talk about that whole thing. Because there's other stuff in the news that I want to get to that I find more interesting that's not political. And it starts with this. It actually starts with this. Let's just talk about this. I like these watch cuffs that I've been making. And I forgot to grab a prop for this discussion. So don't go anywhere. I'm right here, right behind you. I'm still here. I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still here. I'm right here. See, I'm still here. Back in like the, I I mean, maybe it was in the 50s, but 60s, 1960s, 1970s, and then 1980s, watch cuffs were kind of a tough thing. This is an old one. This, if you were to watch the Elvis Presley 68 comeback special, he's pretty much wearing a cuff exactly like this. Obviously, it's not the same watch. This is a Timex automatic on here that still works if I shake this thing. Yep, second hand starts moving. The problem with these cuffs back in the day, if you look at it, there's no lining on the back. This is an easy thing to make. You cut the leather, you cut the slots, you put the straps in, you put the buckles on. This thing's riveted together. It's got rivets for decoration. It's got these rings. You can make this pretty fast. Doing what I do, where I line them with like a calfskin. This is bison hide. It's a green bison hide that was sent to me by Chris, the guy that makes my boots, the Broadwinger boots. I got a pair of boots back from him last week. I just like to make it nicer. And the stitching, when you line it and you stitch it, that keeps the leather from stretching. So it'll retain its shape better. It's not going to just stretch out on you. And lining protects it. It makes it more comfortable on your body to wear it and everything else. Why am I talking about this? Well, I got into the watch thing. As I got more into the watch thing, I discovered I really like dive watches because I got to get the stuff people sent me this week too. Oh man, I feel like I should just jump into that. Let me stick with what I was saying here. When I got into dive watches, I started getting into the history of dive watches, and I discovered there was this watch called the Blanc Pan, the 50 Fathoms, which was the first dive watch you could pretty much go out and buy, right? The public could buy it. And it looked a lot like this. This is actually a copy of a watch called the Tourneck Revel. And this is a watch which is the 50 Fathoms, really. It's the Blanc Pan. The U.S. Navy was testing watches. They were having a problem with Rolexes because the crystals were popping out when they were going down to depth. Rolexes were waterproof and one of the first waterproof watches, but being waterproof is not the same thing as being depth proof, right? So this was the watch that won out, but because it wasn't made in the USA, so for military usage, they had the made in the USA pack thing at this time, where everything had to be USA companies. Bulova made a watch for it as well, but they didn't get selected. At any rate, this guy Tourneck made a deal with Blanc Pan to put his name on the dials so they could basically ship the watches over here, swap out the dials, and make it seem like it was an American company. And they're very rare watches. And there's a guy, I bought this for a very good deal on eBay, new, and I did a review on it. And the guy that owns this company sent me another watch to review. That was a whole story. I've told it before. And that's pretty much the end of the story. The thing about it is as I was looking into this, and then I taught myself the leathercraft thing, and I taught myself how to saddle stitch, I started making watch cuffs. I got a whole bunch of them now because they were cool when I was a kid. It was a tough thing when I was a kid. You watch movies from the 70s in particular, you'll see people wear them. I watched Armageddon last night, and Michael Clark Duncan was basically wearing this exact same watch band in that movie. And so they've always been kind of cool. Then I was noticing, I was watching Platoon one day, and I noticed that a lot of the characters in that, Johnny Depp's character in particular, a whole bunch of them are wearing leather cuffs. But again, more like this one. None of them are lined. Okay, they're all different and unique. And I did a bunch of screen grabs from the film and studied how they were made. They're very simple. And I've actually got the feelers out because I know a guy that's personal friends with Johnny Depp. I don't think it's ever going to happen. There's a guy who's in that movie whose name escapes me for the moment. It's right there. Keith David, black guy. He's the guy who had that great fight scene in They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper. And I would see him on Friday nights, the free jazz concert at LACMA. So I've been meaning to go there on a Friday and hope to run into him, just to talk to somebody that was in that film and ask him, because his character wore a watch cuff as well. Okay, so then I started, by the way, when you watch that film, the guys with the watch cuffs are on the side of Elias. The guy, Barnes, right, played by Tom Berenger, he's wearing your standard Timex military issue plastic military watch. They did that. You pick up on these little subtle things, right? Then I started looking at pictures from Vietnam, actual war fighting dudes. And every once in a while there's a picture, and in the picture, well, there's a lot of pictures, but every once in a while you stumble upon one where a guy's wearing a watch, where he's literally wearing a leather cuff with the watch on it. And I think what was happening was, at that time, there was rubber straps, there was bracelets. I heard some stories from guys that lost their watches when they wore bracelets. Sometimes the clasp would just open. And then the problem with the standard leather was that it would rot out on you. So I guess you could have a rubber strap. So I'm guessing that the leather cuffs, because there was so much more mass to it, it maybe lasted a little bit longer, but I'm suspecting that it was a custom thing made in Vietnam by some person there that was maybe a little bit more robust. It would last a little bit longer. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But you see it. So I've been thinking about it with this particular watch, because this watch went through its paces in like the late 50s, early 60s. And this was a watch that was, likely worn by Navy SEALs during the Vietnam War. So I kept thinking, I got to make a watch cuff for this particular watch. Okay, that's the whole story with this. When I got the green leather here, it was perfect. I really dig on this. I would sell this, by the way, and it wouldn't be cheap, but I would. Right now it's set up for my wrist like a 7 3/4 inch wrist on here. At any rate, one of the things that's interesting to me about the watch cuff is I like the feel of the leather on my wrist. I've been thinking about making a leather cuff for my other wrist, and I've been thinking about what I would do with it. Would it just be leather? Would I make it decorative? I've got some older Greek coins with Alexander the Great in them and stuff like that. It's been in my brain for a while. Probably just put it on there with snaps. Now, the guy Mike, who's the watchmaker that I hang out with, he wears a Rolex on a Bund strap, which is like a leather cuff. It happens to be his birth year watch. And I made him leather cuffs for his other wrist. He had one that was all old and beat up, and I looked at it one day, I was like, I could do better for you. So I made him a couple. He has this thing about it on his wrist, and he likes to wear it snug, and he says it helps relieve the tension, because he's working with his fingers all day. And he says that having that little pressure on his wrist alleviates tension in his hands. That's interesting. It's not why I would want it. But there's something about having the cuff on my wrist that I like. That's why I want to do one on this side, kind of balance it out. And I started thinking about it. And now this is where we start going off the rails for some people. So I've always had these flashes of memory. I suspect that they're memory. Maybe it's a past life thing. That's what I'm assuming it is. I try to be cool with you guys by just laying it out there, because a lot of you don't believe. A lot of you are not going to believe a lot of stuff I'm about to get into right now. It's fine. This is my life. I'm just sharing it with you. Throughout history, men, warriors wore wrist cuffs for different reasons, and they were a protection for one thing. Especially back in the day, everything was fighting with a blade. And when you learn how to fight with a knife in the military, and there's a great book on it, I got Kill or Be Killed, Kill or Get Killed. It's a really good book. Let me see if I can grab it without knocking down the stack of books that's on top of it. This is a really good one here. It goes through the whole thing. This is a good subversive little book for you. This is not Paladin Press, I don't think. Remember those books? How to Get Even, stuff like that. You buy them in the Soldier of Fortune magazines. At any rate, there's Fairbairn and Sykes. These were knife guys that developed the dagger that the British commandos used, and they talk about all this. But there's this whole concept of take the hand. What that means is, two guys coming at you with a knife, you almost want that guy to come at you first. You want to step to the side. You want to take that hand. You want to slice that hand at the wrist, And that's one of the reasons why you wear a cuff. Now, I've heard people argue about this. You get into gladiators and the gladiatorial system, and they talk about that there. And I've heard people say, oh, that's not true. We haven't found cuffs in the burials and things like that. So then I went and did a deep dive on it and started looking for evidence of it, like depicted in art. And in particular, mosaics, the Roman mosaics, Pompeii, other places where they've dug things up. And sure enough, you'll see the gladiators wearing these cuffs. It just makes sense. Cowboys wore them. Everybody's worn them. So I just think, matter of fact, I do have a book I pulled down. This book will curl your toes, man. Those About to Die. This was only ever published in Britain, New Zealand, and Australia. It was never published in the U.S. I bought this. This is falling apart. The pages are coming out. I put tape on it to hold it together. I bought this book used in 1998, the summer of 98. I was in Greece. I was on the island of Paros, and I walked into this old used bookstore, and I read this book cover to cover on an 18-hour boat ride through the Mediterranean. And it is gruesome. This is obviously before the Gladiator movie with Russell Crowe. I was so excited about that movie after having read this book and reading others. I got other Gladiator books up here. And that movie was a disappointment compared to what's in this book. I mean, they couldn't... It would be like Caligula. If they made a movie based on this book and put what is in this book on screen, it would be like you're watching Caligula. It's way over the top. These people were brutal, savage. And I'm talking about the Roman governmental system. You know, the games were all about keeping the people distracted, keeping them happy. And what Rome did to the world, that part of the world. There used to be lions and elephants and tigers and things like that in Europe. They decimated it all. And then they started getting animals from Africa. And they would kill thousands of animals in a day. And they were training animals to rape women, and then they'd kill the women, then they'd kill the animals. I mean, it was insane. People were having sex in the stand. It was bloodlust, and it was really gruesome. At any rate, like, read about how history used to really be, and you might think things are bad today, but we're actually living in the safest time ever on the history of the planet. At any rate, the watch cuff thing seems natural to me. I feel like I've been here before. I have this warrior mindset. I've always had it. I don't think I was supposed to do it in this life, but I tried to make it happen anyhow. We know how that went. So I just have this strong thing with these things on my wrist. It's what makes me feel comfortable. And then you get even to, like, have you guys heard of the Anunnaki? Have you heard of Zecharia Sitchin, The 12th Planet? This whole series of books that he wrote that are based on his interpretation, I guess, the way he translated the cuneiform writing, which is, as far as I know, it's the earliest form of writing we're aware of on the planet, from Mesopotamia. The Epic of Gilgamesh comes from that and all of it. And when you look at the iconography, right, when you look at the how the Anunnaki are depicted, oftentimes they have animal heads and they have big muscular bodies, but almost all of them have this cuff on their wrist. It looks like they have a watch. It looks like they're wearing a watch on a watch cuff. It looks like a flower the way that they do it, but who knows what the hell it is. So I'm just saying I have this, excuse me, this affinity towards the leather on the wrist. It just feels good. Seems like it's the right thing to do. It's masculine, it's manly, it's all of that. This gets me into, and I did forget to look at the watch today. How long do you think I've been talking? 15 minutes or less? I'm talking a little fast. Let me slow it down. What does a yellow light mean? Slow down. What does a yellow light mean? Slow down. What does... yeah, you guys, you know the show? Taxi, Reverend Jim, classic scene. Let me slow it down. Slow it down, man. That's my Dennis Hopper. Slow it down, man. I'm all over the place. So this gets me into the whole alien thing, and I got to tell you, it's a real thing. I believe in it. You don't have to believe in it. I am not trying to convince you it's a real thing, but it's a real thing. And it's always been happening. So this past fall, you know, over New Jersey and other places, it's really been happening everywhere. It was a big deal. And some of the videos, unexplainable. The plasma type things and all of this. And the government tells us, we don't know what it is, but you're not in any danger. And this is what they've always said to us. In 1951, I think it was, or 52, there was UFOs over the White House and the Capitol building, and they scrambled jets. When a jet showed up, the UFOs disappeared. When the jets left, the UFOs reappeared. I think they did this for a couple weeks. It's in the newspapers. You can look it up, front page of the newspapers. UFOs over the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And at that time, a general went on television, said the exact same thing. We don't know what it is, but we don't believe it's a threat. That's what the government keeps telling us. I've been watching a bunch of stuff this week. The last 2 weeks, I think it is, there's been congressional hearings on this. They call them UAPs now, unexplained aerial phenomenon. They keep changing the words. I don't know why they keep doing that. Now, and the media is calling them drones when they see them, because they don't know a better term to put it. They figure if they use the term drone, people will watch the news, I suppose. Maybe that's what that's about. That reminds me of something else I wanted to talk about that is in the politics and in the media right now, but let's see if I could circle back to it like a UAP would do. At any rate, these things have always been there. There's always been evidence of them. Some of us, our earliest stories tell us about them. There's rock carvings about it. There's petroglyphs, rock paintings. Early humans have been not warnings, but they've been telling us about this forever. The Bible, to me, is full of UFO stories. Ezekiel, the wheel within the wheel, Jacob's ladder, right? Even Jonah and the whale. It's a ship. The ancients spoke of things. They were witnessing technology, but the words that they had to describe it, they had to use things around them that they knew. So if so-and-so got into a flaming chariot that shot into the heavens, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a freaking UFO, man. So it's real. Our government's admitted it's real, right? There's tons of video footage now. It's been leaked. I just did a 60 minutes video I posted on my Facebook page, which is from a bunch of different segments they did over the last year or so on it. I just watched another special report by News Nation. This guy, I forget his name, British guy. I think he's British. He might be Australian or New Zealand for all I know. To me, they all sound the friggin' same. Unless you're from Liverpool. Liverpool. That's a different accent. Arizona, down at the border, they got stuff going on. It's always going on. It's always been going on. It's a thing. It's real. And I think we're at the cusp of this being revealed here. Again, at least a week, I think 2 weeks in Washington right now. This week, they're nervous because they were supposed to have more hearings on it this week. But up until this moment, I don't know. I've heard that they haven't announced hearings this week, like it might have gotten shut down because the media is covering it now. But it's the sort of thing you might have to look for if you want to look into it. But it's, I don't think it's anything to be worried about. I think if it was something to be worried about, we would have known that a long time ago. Because, there's different thoughts on this, by the way. Some people think it's us from the future. Okay, maybe. I don't have... my thoughts on it aren't beliefs. I'm not saying it's absolutely this or absolutely that. But they had in one of these congressional hearings and in interviews, they've got people talking to people in Congress and senators about the different types of beings that are out there. It's amazing. The reptilians, the Greys, the Nordics, there's all these different types. And it's, pretty amazing. Pretty friggin' amazing. And when you look at the ancient structures all over the planet, how many of the structures at these different sites mimic certain star systems. You've got these people, the Dogon tribe, right, in northern Africa, that they talk about this star that was behind these other stars that we couldn't even see until the 20th century, I believe, maybe late 19th century. So how could they be passing these stories around for hundreds of years? Because we couldn't even see the thing. There's wild stuff out there if you really start getting into the weeds of it. So my advice is just accept it. It'll be easier for you to deal with when it comes. And they've been trying to prepare us for this for a long time. Hollywood has been doing this forever. Remember V? And what was it? There was a show. Was it V? There was a show at one time where they were living amongst us, right? And one was a cop with a human cop, and they were partners. They've done movies on it too, but I think there was a TV series at one time. I think it was in the 90s. It was pretty good, as I recall. Mandy Patinkin, I think, played the alien. Um, so I know a bunch of people right now are probably already shut this off, unfollow the channel, just because you don't agree with what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a real thing, and I think that in our lifetimes here, we're going to know it for sure. And I think a big part of it is because we're probably getting close to something happening, some world event that can really screw up the whole planet. You know, because we got the whole polar shift of the electromagnetic pole shift that's happened, and the weather, everything else. And speaking of the weather, it's another thing, man. So Florida now banned geoengineering in the skies. Now, there's a bunch of people that don't believe it. Excuse me. I've had people argue with me about this for years. But the people who argue the most against it never look into it. Those of us who look into it, we could hit you with a bunch of stuff to, you know, like, I think it was Westinghouse came up with the technology for weather modification back in the 1930s, and they talked to their attorneys and everything at the time, and they're like, we can't hold on to this. They gave the technology to the government because they didn't want to be responsible. And then you get into the whole HARP thing. Study up on HARP sometime. And that's weather modification where they shoot energy up into the stratosphere and they kind of create this dimple, and that can affect weather in a particular area. So then you get into what they're spraying into the sky, and we know because it's been tested, it's a lot of particulate metals, strontium, barium, chromium, aluminum. And now they're saying, right, because Bill Gates said this years ago, there's a lot of, it was talked about at the UN. I've watched all these things. I've shared them as they've popped up over time. The people who always argue against me, there's going to be a bunch of you in the comments right now, they're going to do it. And I'm not going to answer you. I'm going to love your comment. I'm just going to leave it there because I'm not going to type and try to argue with you about it. All right. It's been discussed. It's been in the news. They're doing it. It's the way government always does things. They do it for decades. Then they start talking about doing it to the public. Like, oh, yes, they've already been doing it. 2008 was when I noticed it right here in LA. I got up one day and the whole sky was gridded out like a checkerboard, both sides here. I didn't leave the house for 3 days. I didn't know what the hell it was. I never heard of it before. But that's when I started going down the rabbit hole on it. Never seen that before. Contrails and chemtrails, two different things. Contrail is water vapor. Dissipates after the plane, very short distance. These guys spray these things that stay there all stinking day. Next thing you know, the whole sky is full of fake clouds. Now, here's the thing about this too, just because I know there's people right now. It's not true. I'm a pilot. I knew a guy spent more time in the air than he did on the ground. He was in the Navy. And he talked to me about it one time. And he was scary about it. He was scared when he was talking to me about it. He says, Mike, our plane only ever did a contrail once. In all the hundreds or thousands of hours he had of airtime, he ever saw his plane do it one time. A regular contrail. So contrails themselves are kind of rare, actually. You see them all the time because there's thousands of planes up there all the time. But the thing is like, I know the flight patterns. I looked it up. Aircraft do not just fly over the areas in all these different crisscrossing one after the other, one flying right by another. And the ones that leave the trails are much higher up than the regular passenger jets, right? Because the flight patterns of the passenger jets, I could see them. They never stop. It's always happening right here. When I sit here at night, I see the planes. They fly out of LAX this way. They go over the ocean. They turn around. They go right by here all night long. Same line. Same line. Planes fly from point A to point B. They don't just crisscross everywhere. So when you look up at the sky and you see it happening, you can do a time lapse with a camera. You see all these planes, different directions. They're turning around. They're coming back. They turn it on and turn it off. You watch them turn the thing off. Then they turn it on again. They get real creative after a while about trying to make it look, because in the end they want the sky to look more natural. Sometimes you'll see an X before it all starts, or a couple X's. And what they're doing is this is a ground visual because you have different currents of air blowing in different directions. So what they're looking for is they're looking for the right level to spray in so it'll stay there longer. If they spray in an area where the wind is moving too fast, it's going to push everything off. And they want to keep it controlled over a particular area for whatever reason. So if they put an X up, they're watching to see how fast that moves or if it moves at all. Then they know that they can spray in that at that level. Here's the thing. If it's a day or 2 days or 3 days or a week or 2 weeks where it's boom, boom, boom every day, and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen, it stops, and it's just a blue sky for weeks, no more spraying. You ever look at the airport to see if all the flights have been canceled? Because I'll tell you, they haven't been. Because they're not passenger jets. So just that one point alone should make you think and start looking into this. There's been a lot of stuff released on it too. So Florida just made it illegal to do it over Florida. I was driving once cross country. I was in Arkansas, and it was horrible. Crisscrossing, I'm watching it. It was just nuts. And I forget what state's right next to Arkansas. Is it Kansas? As soon as I crossed the state line, and it was funny too, because all the crops were in Arkansas, and as soon as I crossed the state line, there was no more crops, which is really fucked up. No more spraying. And I pulled over on the side road, and I looked up, and it was all blue sky, and it was like a line. And from that line into Arkansas, it was just crisscross planes flying and making lines and leaving them there. It was the craziest thing, man. I'm sure I posted this on Instagram at the time. It's insane. So something is definitely going on with it. This brings me to the UFOs too, because you think about, if this is how I think sometimes, maybe it has something to do a little bit with that, because it's like a smoke screen. If they spray that up there, then we can't see the stuff that's flying around, I suppose. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just throwing, it's another thing to think about. But they're admitting what it is. And last week, Britain released a story, or it came out of, Britain, a story where they're going to start doing it, weather modification, over Britain. They're going to purposefully do this to cool the planet down. Look into this. If you're going to just type and argue with me now here in the comments, that's just silly. I'm not going to pay attention to it. You should look it up. Just look into it yourself. You're going to find plenty of stuff that's going to support your point of view of it being nothing. Guaranteed. A lot of people are just poo-pooing it, laughing at it. But if you keep looking, and you should always do this, you should look at the stuff that you don't agree with. Read the stuff that supports what I'm saying. Read that stuff and see what you think about that. Because it's real. Just like the UFOs are real. The HARP thing, what they like to suggest is that if you put particulate metals into the atmosphere, well, then if you think about HARP and shooting energy up into the stratosphere, and if you have all these particulate metals, well, then theoretically, right, you can affect a larger area because it's all electrical at that point. I don't know what I'm talking about. It seems like it makes sense. I read this a long time ago. I'm just saying. So you could see how those things could work in conjunction at the same time. I think it's dangerous. We're breathing this stuff in. Again, that's another thing you could look into. People have their blood tests. They're finding this stuff. They're finding it in our bodies, just like they find plastics in our bodies and everything else. When the spraying happens over forests, things like that, a lot of scientists have gone out while it's happening, right? Or the next day, they go out and they do soil samples, water samples, plant samples, and the particulate metals are off the charts for normal range. Off the charts. It's definitely happening. So it most likely that's what's going on as far as like them thinking they can cool the planet. Here's the thing, and I've shown this before. You can look this up for yourself. During the timeline of human existence that we accept, because there's been ancient civilizations here with high degrees of technology, and the evidence is all over the place, but we're not going to talk about that right now today. It's been much warmer than it is right now. And it's been much colder. We had the Little Ice Age. We had the medieval warm period. We had the Roman warm period. People are funny about that too. Sometimes, you get in these discussions, they're like, well, that was just there. That was just in Rome. No, dummy. That was worldwide. It was recorded there, right? They talk about it. But we know temperatures based on the combination of ice core samples combined with ocean floor core samples, which I brought this up before with the whole Al Gore thing. Like he uses core samples to say that proves that CO2 is responsible for the Earth warming. He says, hey, when it was warmer in the past, we look and the CO2 levels were high. Ergo, CO2 causes global warming. Well, that's a lie. That's not what it shows. What it actually shows is they know this because they can see microbial life in the core samples out of mud from the ocean floors. And what it always shows is that the planet warms first. CO2 levels follow. All right, this is long before Industrial Revolution or anything else. When the planet's warmer, the areas that are too cold to support life now can support life. Right? Ice melts back, it recedes. We have more plant life, brings about insect life, brings about animal life, brings about animals that eat animals, predator life. All these things happen. The plants are growing, and all that CO2 goes up in the atmosphere. When it's colder, there's less CO2 because there's less life on the planet. The planet's been getting greener for the last 20 years too, in case you don't know. So the planet, even if humans weren't here, if there was no humans on this planet, the planet would get hot and it would get cold on its own. It has more to do with the sun activity, our distance from the sun, because it kind of fluctuates a little bit, as well as solar activity, solar storm activity, right? And then what's happening on our planet with the pole shifts, because that's happened multiple times. Matter of fact, there's when you look at the ancient structures, we're talking the megalithic structures, the ones that we couldn't build today unless we had giant cranes. And some of the stones we would still have a hard time lifting. There's 100-ton stones, 200-ton stones that humans moved around and lifted 30 feet in the air and all this other stuff. It's insane. All over the planet. And when they, I can't even get into it, that whole thing. It's amazing stuff. I just lost my train of thought. Because the whole thing is like when you go into it and you understand what people are saying and you realize we can't duplicate the stuff that they were doing back then, what the hell's going on? At any rate, one of the things they always did with these structures, I know where I was going now. It's the weave. I'm bringing it back. They always oriented the buildings north, south, east, and west. And these things have been looked at, and when they look at the north face and they go 90 degrees, perpendicular, boom, north, they crisscross over North America. The last time I remember looking at this was some time ago. It was basically 3 points, 3 different points, 3 different North Poles, basically. And what it means to me when I see it, because they're more like kind of over Canada. One of them might even be low enough to be in North America, like us, the USA. I forget. I think it's all in Canada, that area. What it means in my mind is that the Earth is on an axis and it's spinning and it wobbles a little bit. But we're assuming it's humans, right? We'll just say, for lack of a better term, during human existence, during megalithic construction, all over the planet, there's been 3 different North Poles. So the Earth has done this, it's done this, it's done that. Like, that's a major shift for there to be 3 different North Poles that these buildings are aligned to. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just a magnetic north, all right? But when I think about it, I also think about things like the Ice Age, where they say that there was a time when the Earth got so cold that the ice moved down. I'm just talking about North America right now. Excuse me. But the ice came down over the northern part of North America, and then the planet warmed and it receded. Well, what if it wasn't that? This is my own thought. This is my own thought here, because there's maps of the landmass of Antarctica without ice on it that predate when we were able to use sonar. I think it was sonar. Maybe it was radar. I think it was sonar, to map through the ice to see what the landmass was, and then it matched these maps. The Piri Reis map comes to mind. That was from the 1500s, and that map apparently was made up of earlier maps. And it's got the... Excuse me, I'm really congested today. Excuse me. But it shows South America, Africa, the coastlines. It shows animals that live there. It's all accurate. and the landmass of Antarctica. Well, what if, imagine if you took a globe, right, and you took it out of its holder. I wish I had one here. I have one in the van. I could explain it to you if I had one. Damn, I didn't know I was going to say all this. If you took that and you moved it like this and had the North Pole over, Ottawa, let's say, in Canada, well, that would mean that Antarctica would be up here, wouldn't be at the bottom of the planet. What if that's really what was going on there, right? And that's why the ice was down here. And then all of a sudden something happened. Every 6,000, 12,000, 24,000, 36,000 years, right? There are these 12,000 year cycles, really, where the weird things happen to the planet. You can map the things that happen to the planet with weather and everything else. What if something comes by the planet every 36,000 years, let's say? Narubu, maybe, right? We don't know. And there's a gravitational force that pulls on the planet to the point where the planet shifts a little bit, rotates. So maybe, North Pole was here and, Antarctica was up over here, and all of a sudden the whole Earth went, whoop. Now the North Pole's up here, and Antarctica is back down, and that's why you have ice on Antarctica right now. That's why they say that there's pyramids and all kinds of things under the ice in Antarctica. That's some scary shit. That's scary shit, man. So I think it's going to happen. And and I think it's going to happen in our lifetimes. Again, maybe not that exact thing, but something like it. Göbekli Tepe is a place in Turkey that they're saying is over 12,000 years old, right? There's a whole lot of crazy stuff going on over there right now, politically, with the dig site. Things were done, trees were planted, now the trees were taken up. They're turning it into a tourist destination. Only a small percentage of it has even been dug up. It turns out there's a bunch of other locations right there that they want to dig up. We need to dig it up because it's history. Because what they discovered in Göbekli Tepe, and it's a theory, is that these relief carvings on these T-shaped stones are constellations, and it's a warning. And it says, this is what the sky looked like at the time when there was a cataclysmic event that took place. We got the Younger Dryas event Randall Carlson talks about all the time, which wiped out most of the life on the planet. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe the Earth went like this, and that's what forced melting, all kinds of things, flash floods that created canyons and all these other things. Because if you listen to Randall Carlson, it's more likely that a lot of these things happen instantaneously, not over hundreds or thousands of years. It's really fascinating stuff. So, I'm just saying, I think all this is possible, and I think that's why the UFOs are more prevalent now. I think that's why people are talking about all these different beings and everything else. I'm into this stuff, as you could tell. I think it's interesting. Apparently, aliens are fascinated by us. What did I watch? I was watching something on this the other day. Oh, it was, excuse me. I know that if you're not into this, it's not your thing. I get it. It's too much. I get it. There's this guy, I think it's Will Streiber or something. He wrote Communion. My grandmother gave me this book when I was young. And he was apparently abducted in the Hudson Valley in New York, which is going to get me to a viewer of the channel here pretty soon. And there's a lot of activity in the Hudson Valley, UFO activity there. My uncle saw UFOs in New Jersey back in the day. I've seen them over the ocean. I've got pictures of them. I've posted them on my social media before. I've got UFO pictures from here. I'll try to remember to tag that at the end of this video. I've got some pretty amazing images. Which was also from 2008, by the way. 2008. It was the spraying in the sky and the UFO thing. Interesting. At any rate, apparently he talks to these beings now. I'm not saying I believe everything he's saying. I'm just listening to it. It's interesting to me. Excuse me. To me, it's more interesting to put some effort into, or time into this, because it's interesting for my mind. My mind tends to expand more with possibility and what ifs, and it makes me think about other things and have other thoughts in my mind about life that I find more beneficial to my life and more uplifting and positive than politics, right? Because politics is now theater that's designed to divide us and make us tribal and hate one another and argue with one another and everything else. Whereas this stuff, if you get in this, it has to bring us together, because collectively as human beings, we need to understand what's going on here. Because there's a lot of different possibilities, and some of them aren't great. But apparently, a lot of these beings from other worlds, they don't actually speak verbally. It's all mental. And he was saying how they say that the species in all the different places, I'm assuming different universes, species that actually speak don't last long. There's something about verbalization of things that lead to problems, which makes a lot of sense because you can lie, right? Whereas if you communicate telepathically, there's no lying because you know what's going on in the other being's mind, which is going to straighten everything right the hell out pretty quick. If you think about it, it's pretty good. So, but he says that they say that humans, the thing they love about humans is we're creative. They're not creative. We're individual. Every one of us is different. Whereas them, because they're more telepathic, they're more on a level of a single. It's like bees, right? That's how their minds work, where they come from. So they all think the same, communicate the same, do the same things. It's fucking boring. Can you imagine that shit? That is some boring shit. We are individuals. And they also view us as vessels for the soul. And that's interesting to me. And I've always had this concept about that's probably where, like, our souls are from something else. We never really die, right? So maybe part of our lives were in one of those beings. I don't know. Maybe, what if being human, like possessing a body, a human body, is like a vacation? You know, like what if you get to choose and be like, you know what, I get to go. Great, I get to go into a human form and have a life. Maybe have multiple lives for however long as I want. Have all these different experiences. That's pretty interesting. I'm into the whole reincarnation thing and all of it, man. I'm out there. I had the Bigfoot experience. We got the UFO stuff. I'm into all this stuff. It's easier for me, and I'm a happier person in this life, accepting the fact that all of this is real. I sleep real good with it. And that's just me. I'm just a happier guy that way. I find that the people who tend to want to argue with me on any one of those points are not happy people. They're friggin' miserable, man. But this also gets me into another thing about government. And you ever watch these movies where, was it Albert Brooks Defending Your Life, right? What a shitty thought process. Like, it's a funny movie. Albert Brooks is kind of a comedy genius, but the idea that when you die, you have to go through a bureaucratic process? What the fuck, man? Seriously? No wonder why some people want to live forever. like you got to defend your life? Like, that whole concept is nuts, man. That's insane. I think it's not like that at all. I think you leave this body and you go off to the next thing. Or when I had my death experience, I was just told I could go home. And I said, well, life has been interesting lately. Maybe I should stick around. And this voice, God, the universe, whatever it was, said, okay. And I came back into my body. And now I've had the best 8 years of my life since then. Totally different person. Totally different outlook on life. I think maybe because it was confirmed to me that my belief system was correct. Or the way I thought about things, anyhow. At any rate, I think about all these things. To me, these what ifs, wonderful and fantastic thoughts that then lead to other expanded points of my brain on so many different subjects. I enjoy who I am as a human being. I enjoy where my mind is at 99% of the time, because I'm positive minded and I want to share information and get this stuff out and try to help people out and all these things. versus the people who, if I bring up any of these individual topics, want to argue with me and try to convince me that I'm an idiot or I'm crazy or I'm stupid and that they have all the answers, even though if you hit them on these topics and ask them the facts as I know them, they don't know any of the facts. They're just naysayers. And again, this gets me to what I wanted to talk about with the bureaucracy of things. Because I look at these politicians and I look at some famous people sometimes, and I think to myself, you're not human. You can't be human. It's not human to want to screw people over. It's not, I mean, we know there's evil humans out there, right? I get it. I want to believe that humans are mostly basically good, except for the broken ones, right? There's a bunch of people out there, brains like a computer, and some of them got a glitch. That's going on. But in particular, people in power, rich people or famous people, they've got a bully pulpit. Somebody's sticking a mic in their face. They get to influence maybe millions of people. So if their mindset is of, Marxism, socialism, communism, that sort of thing, they're trying to push you towards that, while at the same time they're worth millions of dollars. So, everything that they say is good for the rest of us, it never affects them in the negative because they're wealthy enough where it doesn't affect them. That's fucked up. Or same thing with the politicians. Same thing with some of these governmental systems. Even religion. I'm not a religion fan. I'm not a religious guy. I still believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe he was here. I believe in his message. I got a whole bit I'm going to do on Jesus. I've been talking about this for 30 years. I've had this kind of joke about it. And I'm going to hit you guys with this pretty soon. It's probably going to be like a 20-minute thing. And I hope you enjoy it. It's coming soon, believe me. What I think could be going on, actually Stryber said this in this interview. I almost forgot about this. He says that the people that are the negative types, I'm going to try to think of exactly how he put it. I'm not going to be able to verbatim remember exactly what he said. It's like the people that don't believe in individual soul and happiness and helping people out or whatever. The ones are like the atheist type people. You know what I'm saying? The negative people. They think it's lights out. They don't believe in anything after death. That sort of thing. They reinforce this thought process in their minds. They can actually get taken over by other entities like aliens. Now, if you were a religious person, you would use the term demons, right? You'd say demons take them over. Well, it could just be these aliens that take them over and start manipulating them in a way. And that's what I think about. And I think of the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's basically the story. And it does seem like that. When you watch, there's been a bunch of Body Snatcher movies, Invasion of the Body Snatcher movies, and when you listen to what it's the pod people, remember? The pod comes in, you get your DNA, a version of you comes out of the pod, animates, then kills you, takes over your life, and then tries to convince the other people to have the pod. It's so much better. We all think the same. We can just communicate. No more emotion. No more war. How great would this be? It's like they're trying to get people to do that. Then that gets into these other things I've read about over the years, where there is like a game going on with these different beings that are out there that are watching us. It's like this is why religion exists, good and evil and all that. So there's some entities out there that want us to remain free and individuals and all that. But the other ones come in and influence the weak-minded. It's a thing, man. I'm fascinated by it because I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to understand what's going on in people's minds. Why do they do some of the things that they do? Some of it is just so sinister. And again, I think anti-human in a way, because my thinking of the way the human experience should be is we should all be getting along. Squash out the evil, be free. Freedom is not safe. Freedom, individual liberty, that's not a safe place necessarily, but it's the best place. safety comes with all kinds of rules and regulations and bureaucracy and all this other bullshit that makes you less free, and you are an individual. Remember that. At any rate, yeah, so we went from the watches and the watch cuffs to ancient aliens who wore watch cuffs to talking about the whole UFO UAP thing that's been going on. Then we got into the whole chemtrail discussion. Then we got into aliens and getting into people's bodies. We got into ancient sites and the polar shift and Narubu and the 36,000 year cycle. To me, this is all interesting stuff. And I think it's important to be thinking about. And I watched Armageddon last night, as I said. And for those of you that don't remember the film, that movie still holds up. That's a very good film. And I want to watch more Bruce Willis movies anyhow, because every time I think about that guy, it's kind of heartbreaking what he's going through in his life right now. He was such a virile guy and seemingly good human being, and he's believable in all his pictures, and it's just sad to see what he's going through. So I kind of want to remind myself of how good he was, and that was a good flick. And in that movie, a meteor shower. That's the thing, man. A meteor shower comes through and it kind of blows up New York City. That's what lets them know that, hey, there's this giant asteroid coming, and with it are all these different meteor showers and other objects with it. And throughout the movie, when they got like 18 days to prepare, and the idea is they're going to send a drill team on these shuttles. It's pretty good, man. I highly recommend Armageddon if you haven't seen it in a long time. Watch it again. Anyhow, they get on there and they drill in, and they got to drill 800 feet, and they got to put a nuclear device that will cleave the asteroid in half. And it's got to be done at a certain point before it gets to a certain delineation mark as it's approaching Earth, so that when it cleaves in half, both halves will miss the Earth. Pretty good. Pretty good flick. And it just makes me think about everything else that's going on right now, because maybe if you're into the ancient astronaut theory, if you're into the UFO thing, the UAP thing, and you understand that we have these craft. Some of them have been gifted to us. Some of them we've dug them up and at sites that are very old. It's very strange. Bob Lazar talks about this. It just seems like, and they are working with our governments, there's no doubt about it. It seems like they're giving us these technologies incrementally over time to get us up to par, so that maybe we can protect the Earth for the next event. That's maybe, in my mind, it's an uplifting, positive-minded thing. Like, maybe that's what's really going on. So eventually they are going to reveal themselves. We're going to understand what the truth is about this whole thing. I think there is a sinister thing. I've talked about this before here. The whole farming of souls, because those souls are pure energy. They could be used for some nefarious thing. That's really scary to me. I think that that could be true. I don't think it's for everybody. I think that there could be a portion of and that's why they do war all the time, to kill off 1 million people, because it's some deal that went on with governments and these beings from some other world. They're like, hey, we need 1 million souls for this purpose, so have a war. This is crazy thinking. I know. This is everything I've said in this video today is insane, totally out there, but this is where my brain goes. What if that's true? That is frightening as hell, man. I mean, what if you found out you're one of the cattle? Because I don't think we all are. And I think that's based on, like, I look at how people are. And I've talked about this before. I don't want to get too into it because it'll sound like I'm insulting different types of people on the planet. It's not a race thing or anything like that. But there are people in the world where you go there and it's like, they can't get left from right. There's something going on, The Middle East comes to mind sometimes. At any rate, that's a whole other discussion, because that's some scary shit. And that would be a reason why they can't tell us the truth, right? And maybe some of us come from some other place where we go there, and maybe there is a thing going on, which is sad. where some beings are. There is like, I don't want to, I'm not saying this is the way it is. This is for lack of a better way to word it. But some are on a, like, come from a higher thing where they have more value than others in this universal knowledge that's out there. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just, these are thoughts that pop into my brain. I'm not saying I'm right about any of it. It's just a discussion. One way, because I'm just talking to my phone here. Yeah. So you could see why I'm not paying attention to the politics this week. Just been, all this stuff's been rattling through my brain. It's amazing. Hudson Valley brings up Pat and the cat. Cat like the excavator, not like the animal cat, which made me feel better about you, Pat, because guys that are like really into cats and have a bunch of cats creep me out. Most guys that are into cats is because they got a wife or a girlfriend that is into cats. The guy's not really that into the cats. He's into the chick, but the chick's into the cats. And you got to go along to get along sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So Pat sent me, first of all, Pat's a musician. He's got a band, Pat and the Cat. You should check him out. He's like, he said he's in Pennsylvania, just above, no, he's in New York, just above PA. And he plays gigs all over the area there, Pat and the Cat. And he did that theme song for me, the Astrovan Tribe channel like thing that he did. I posted it on my, I should play it. I should get the computer out. He's going to do another one, I think. I was so impressed with it. It was so fun. He put a little video together. I posted it on my Facebook page. It's very funny. And you could tell from the lyrics, he actually watches the channel. And we did the video. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Because he got these screen. He really put work into this. This is like a, you know, if I was some big thing, I'd be like, he's a super fan, you know. But I feel weird saying something like that. But that's how it seems. And because he took the time to make a music video all about me, you know, I'll do a video on it for you. I'll tell you what, I'll play that for you. We'll do it. It'll be a short video, you know, be like a 5-minute video of me talking about it probably. I don't know. We'll figure something out. I liked what he did. This is, my vanity came out. He had a shot of me when I was in Bisbee, and the sun is hitting the top of my head, and it just makes me look bald as hell. And he's like, "No, dude, you're fine. Like, this is the nicest guy." I called him. We exchanged. I got the phone number. I gave him a call. He sent me a package. By the way, he sent me an American flag that he wants me to put up somewhere, like when we're doing the videos and whatnot. He sent me some pencils. He sent me what he's calling the joke book. He's like, write your jokes down, man. I got a bunch of these, by the way, and I do that. And he's a big fan of the Kill Tony thing, and he believes. He's just like, dude, everything's happening for you. He's like, you're going to be on Kill Tony. And he's like, don't worry about your VA thing. That's going to happen. A few people told me that this week, by the way. And that's another thing I kind of wanted to briefly touch on. The manifestation thing. And I've been putting work in on that. And like studying manifestation, like where your mind needs to be, because you really have to avoid negativity, and you have to avoid desperation. You know, you can't be, you know, man, just saying the word made my chest feel funny. Because you say desperation, you feel desperation. And that's a negative thing in the universe when you're trying to manifest something. It gets in the way of you manifesting positive things. You have to basically have gratitude and be grateful for the things you have, and kind of already live and believe that all these good things are going to happen. It's hard to do that when you've had that life that I had coming up, you know. The truth is, though, when I analyze my life, looking back on it now as an adult, even though there was a bunch of hardship and tough times and many near-death experiences and, you know, not the greatest childhood in a lot of ways, and family problems, as we've discussed here before, the thing is that when I really analyze it, there was a lot of positive things that happened. Everything seemed to always fall into place. And you have to accept it. You have to accept that the universe is working in your favor, and you have to tune into that. And you have to trust the timeline of the universe for you individually. And you just cannot be impatient about it. You got to work towards something. You have to take action on things, but you have to believe it's going to happen. And that's how you manifest positive things into your life. And that's not something that they tell you when you're a kid, man. You should teach this to your children. Because what happens is you get kicked in the balls enough times, you start thinking. I used to say it as a joke. God's favorite plaything loves to fuck with me. God's got a great sense of humor. You can't say that. I shouldn't even say it right now, even for the sake of the video. I'm only saying it for the sake of the video. It does that. So okay, this is another thing. This is the thing that scares me about the comedy, because I know there's going to be a bunch of self-deprecating stuff there. And I'm going to say a lot of these things that are not the things that you want to have in your brain if you want positive manifestation in your life. They're strictly for the sake of comedy, because these thoughts that are, you can classify them as negative for the sake of the conversation, are universal. All humans understand it. And that's why it's funny. You just don't want to really live in that headspace. You want to express it so that other people listening to you feel a connection to you, because they understand that this is all true and real. So yes, man, I know what you're saying. Yeah, oh, that is funny. Yeah, that's good. Exactly. And then we have to laugh past that negativity and still try to uplift one another. And I think the laughter helps. That's why I want to really get into that. And I've been doing it anyhow. So yeah, anyhow, Pat's awesome. Thank you, dude. I'll see you hopefully this summer. Everything's going to happen like you said it is, and then we'll hang. And then Phyllis, you're such a sweet lady. I've met Phyllis a couple times through Sarah. A bunch of you here. Is anybody here still watching? Is anybody still watching, by the way? I'm sure that a bunch of people signed off after all what you think is crazy shit that I've been talking about all day. But Phyllis and her husband sent me a card, which I don't have. I don't think I have the card here. Do I have a card here? Is this one Phyllis's card? Yeah, let me read it. I think gratitude. Man, we just talked about this. I'm keeping this there because just reading the word gratitude, it just makes my heart feel good. So thank you for that. You guys are, I keep saying I got the best subscribers, man. You guys are just wonderful. And Phyllis has some pretty nice handwriting. Actually, it's very similar to my mother's handwriting. Hey, Mikey. Just want to say thanks for putting yourself out there and being genuine. A cool guy who enlightens us with your take on things in the news and in life with fun and humor. You're a talented guy, and we love to watch your videos. All the best to you. Always love Rob and Phyllis. Nice. Now, and then I basically, kicked the gift horse in the mouth. So she sent me a couple t-shirts. Look, let's just get this out there right now, because people have sent me t-shirts before. Here's the thing. I'm weird, right? Yeah. I just said I'm weird after about an hour maybe of talking already about aliens and chemtrails and everything. I'm a weird guy. I only want to wear real stuff on my body. Like this is a cotton silk blend, this shirt, right? So I'll wear silk, I'll wear cotton, I'll wear wool. Maybe I'll wear bamboo, a natural fiber, hemp, stuff like this, leather, obviously. So she sent me a couple t-shirts. They're gigantic, and they're polyester, and they've got the seams on the side. I cannot stand t-shirts that have that seam on the side. It irritates me, especially if it's got a polyester blend to it. Can't wear it. Just won't do it. Sorry, but thank you, because it is the thought that counts. And I'm very grateful to you guys, because it is the thought that counts. The fact that you took the time to have these shirts made for me and sent them to me with this beautiful card, it means a lot. I just want you to know that. Other people have sent me cards. If you sent me a card before, I know I got a couple of them up here. I've been kind of keeping them up in the background. Thank you. Honestly, I can't thank you enough. So, what's this one? Oh, yeah. Remember this? I said I would wear this on a t-shirt. Stupid has consequences. It's awesome. I can't wear it. Also, look at the size of this freaking thing. It's an extra large, but it's like a freaking circus tent. So, if you could wear this extra large shirt, let me know. You have to have some giveaways here on the channel. That's a pretty funny shirt. And then this is another good one. When I get pissed off and I'm like talking about people who are half-assing their life, try harder, man. Just try harder. All right? Never give up. Never surrender. Keep trying. All right? Stay positive. Manifest things in your life. Be positive. Keep positive people in your life. Negative people, get them out, just cut them out of your life. Spend less time with those people. Speak less to them. And then when they eventually come to you and they go, hey, what happened? I thought we were friends. Be real cool and say, listen, I still love you. I still consider you a friend. However, you don't let me be me. You don't let me speak about the things I'm into and just let me do it and support me in these things. You're always negative at the things I say. This is the problem, right? We've got people in our lives, they're not happy. Misery loves company. They're not happy, so they don't want you to be happy. They're jealous if you're happy. They're jealous of personality traits that you ask me how I know this. Been dealing with it my whole life, right? Even as a little kid, I was a confident kid. When you're a confident little kid and you have this energy about you and it attracts energy from other people, like the girls always liked me when I was young. Well, you know what that did? That made all the other guys jealous. You know what that led to? Them picking on me, right? What that led to was fighting. You know what that led to? Me being a friggin' badass. And I had to learn how to defend myself, man, with humor and my knuckles when I needed to. I'm just saying. So there's a thing here. So the people that will come, because this has happened to me many, many, many times. People are like, hey man, I don't hear from you anymore. Yeah, because you're a fucking asshole. Maybe if you weren't such an asshole, we'd still be hanging out. Which doesn't mean you have to agree with me on everything. All right? I enjoy having my positions challenged because it strengthens my ability to defend my positions. I don't have a problem with it. I'll talk to you. But here's the thing. If every time I see you, you back me into a corner and force me to have to defend my positions on things that you don't agree with because you want me to think the way you do because you like me so much, that's stupid. All right? That's fucking stupid. So stop being stupid. Pull your head out of your ass. Be nicer. Be nicer to me. I'm sensitive. All right, that's it. Have a good day. Be kind. Be good. Be good. And I'll catch you in the next one.